Hello, everybody. How are you today? I'm Ione, and I'm the founder of Uplifting Content. And I had a recommendation I used to do lots of Facebook Lives. I've been a bit slack on them, so I apologize. But one of the Facebook Lives, I was recommended to speak to Kyle by Ben, who is always on the call, always commenting, always engaging. And he says, you must contact Kyle Poissonnier. I've destroyed it. It's French. I've not said it properly. Poissonnier. I can't do it. He said I could say it however I wanted, and I'm just killing it. And so I'm really happy to be talking to him today and butchering his name. I'm sorry. How am I supposed to say it?
Oh, it's okay.
No, but tell me.
It's Poissonnier. But you were close.
Poissonnier. Is that how Poissonnier? Is that how French people say it though?
Did you just go into your American? I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll verify with my cousin.
Honestly,
she's French.
Yeah, honestly, it's after a life of playing football through college, I had many coaches try to say it. So you're not the first person who's butchered it. So
okay, cool. That's okay then.
Yeah.
I'm Ione. I get all sorts of weird pronunciations. So I feel you, and I need to make more of them.
I was saying Ion to my friends this week. So
you're speaking to
I say
Ion.
we're even now.
Yeah,
we're even now.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I get a lot of loans as well because people don't realize that they think I is an L. So I actually went for a birthday party, and on the table it was reserved for Lone Butler, as if I'm just this sad woman that has no friend. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to it. Hello, everyone. Ben is actually on the call. I love it. Thank you for recommending it and recommending Kyle and making this happen, you legend. As always, everybody. We were having these really great chats when I was just doing sort of one-on-one calls. Oh, let me get the gallery view going so that's better. And so I would love to hear from you. If you have questions for myself and Kyle, just send us messages, send us your thoughts, love hearts, likes, all that type of stuff, because it's nice to have engagement from you wonderful people. So Kyle, thank you for joining me. And I would love for you just to introduce yourself, please, and tell us about what you do.
My name is Lone Butler. No, I'm just kidding. Kyle Poissonnier. I am from
Poissonnier.
I am from Smithfield, Maine. I run a clothing company in Westbrook, Maine, which is about 5 minutes from Portland. And our tagline is basically clothing with a cause, clothing that creates change. We make very basic men's and women's youth size clothing, hoodies, activewear. But the catch is that every time we sell something, it's for a cause. It's a vehicle to help donate money and raise awareness. And we pick 2 charities a year. One always being suicide awareness, which I'm sure we'll get into. And one being food insecurity, called the Locker Project for grade schools, middle schools, high schools in Maine. And I just posted it a few minutes ago, but we actually just wrapped up our Black Friday sale yesterday, and we're on pace this year to donate about $10,000 to these charities this year through sale of our clothing, which is really nice. But I think what the charities appreciate most is how open we are about so much stuff, and how every single item we put out allows the person to tell their own story, to give it to somebody who inspires them, to tell people where they're from. A lot of it's state-centric stuff. So it's been really cool. I've been working at this for about 8, 9, 10 years now after I left college. So to be able to do it as my full-time job and meet people like yourself and other people who kind of want to help others before they help themselves has been by far the best part.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me your story, how you came to create this company.
It was a senior project, flagship class, entrepreneurship class at Hudson University, where I went to school in Bangor, Maine. And the only grade was you had to create a fake business plan for a fake business.
Why did they even set it up like that? Why would you not create a legitimate business plan for a legitimate business? This is like such a weird thing.
No, because everybody they were pumped thinking that they were leaving with their degree from college and that they were just going to go out and use their degree. So nobody wanted to do that. But my story is long, and it's what I talk to high schools a lot about being really doing things for yourself. I was really doing things for other people at this point in my life to please other people. And I wanted to be a football player. I gave no thought to really anything else besides just kind of feeding myself. And I was like, well, I know some people in the NFL. I had a friend at the time who I played football with, and we both started this clothing company together. And our idea was just to give it to these football players that we knew. And we thought that that was going to be like the thing that did it all for us. Fast forward to 5 years later, a lot changed. I just really floundered. The company was floundering because I just was so afraid of failing and not being known as a football player, I suppose. And it did a lot of damage to me mentally and psychologically. And I started meeting kids when I would go to school and talk to kids about starting businesses that would say that the best part of my speech to them was the part where I failed and kept going. So then I started becoming more aware of my failures and how long it was going to take to do something. And, you know, just a lot of things I'm sure we'll get into, but I found it very obvious that the only way clothing works, I think, for me, I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but for me, it works if there's something else behind it. You know, I just feel like there has to be something that drives people to attach themselves to whatever it says on their shirt. I mean, granted, you could just wear a blank t-shirt or whatever, and it feels good and it fits and it keeps you warm, whatever. But the stories now that we get from people all over the world that buy our stuff and talk about what it meant to them, who it represents, what it represents. It's a far cry from where I started, where I was just putting awful designs on t-shirts and thinking that if I gave it to a well-known celebrity, football player, that's not even something I think about. I mean, we have celebrities and athletes and people wear our stuff, but it's almost like it's a nice compliment. I don't think that they're ever once gonna bring me to where I need to be.
Right.
So it just took a lot of time. It started as a college project. It had a first name when it started. It rebranded. I changed how it looked. I rebranded this. I did that. And, you know, it's coming up on almost 10 years of me doing this. So I try to tell people when they're wanting to start a clothing company or they're wanting to start any business, everything's on demand now. There's no on-demand success button. So a lot of people think because everything's on demand, they can get something with a click. That, well, why can't a clothing company or why can't this company be like that? And I tell people that just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. And the reason why people follow us now, like Ben, is because I'm sure him and I have talked a few times. I'm sure it's because he's seen us grow and he's seen us struggle for years. So now to finally get to a point where, you know, we're selling an item every 7 minutes for 4 days straight, you know, through Black Friday weekend, people appreciate the fact that we did not used to do that. You know what I mean? So, kind of that, yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I launched a clothing line in September. It's one of our designs, and so I definitely relate to what you're saying about. To me, I feel very funny about selling things to people. I think we're all tight. We're told to like buy stuff because it makes you feel great when you buy stuff. And for me, I'm like, what can I sell that I actually believe in? Well, clothes. We all need to wear clothes. That's a necessity. So why don't I can make clothes that actually do something and can inspire people that wear it and that see you wearing it. Like I can get behind that. And so, yeah, I think it is incredibly important to have something with a message. You tell me about the suicide awareness stuff.
So I referenced kind of my mindset leaving college, and I was a person who from like middle school through like mid 20s really became somebody else in my life, and really thought that for me to be accepted, I needed to look, act, dress, play a sport that everybody viewed as whatever. And I, you know, if you see a picture of me from like college, I look completely different. I look like Bane from Batman or something. But I went to this extreme to try to be accepted by so many people. And I did like football. Don't get me wrong. I didn't love it, which to play it at a really high D3 or D1 level football college, you need to love it or else it's just kind of a waste of time. And so I gave no thoughts to anything else. And I just was that guy. I became that guy. And when that was over and I entered the real world after college, I needed something to hold on to that would keep me in the way people perceive me. And so clothing line was obviously the one that I thought would be good. So I did that. And for the first 5-6 years of it, nothing happened because I didn't want to fail in front of anybody. You know what I mean? I was like really scared of that judgment. And I remember I went through a really tough time right around year 6 or 7 where I lost my grandfather who basically raised me. I didn't, know my father growing up or anything like that. So we were very, very close. I lost my best friend a couple months later while I was at one of my other best friends' weddings. And then I lost my grandmother about a year later. So there was this really tough stretch of a year and a half where like a lot of people who I really wanted to make this succeed for weren't there anymore. And it was really funny because I bottled everything, you know, because nobody had ever viewed me as like a sad guy who was down. It was always very positive. It was always big strapping football player and nothing could ever go wrong. And that was actually detrimental to me because I felt like I couldn't tell people that now, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
so I became very, very depressed. And, you know, there was a really long period, you know, the winters in Maine are very hard. So it's like dark and cold and like that with everything. You know, I had a lot of thoughts, you know, and I became very depressed and somehow I pulled out of it. And I had a friend that I met up with and he had kind of went through the same thing. And he said, you know, last person you'd ever expect this guy too, you know, beautiful family, great job, kids. And he basically told me he lost his job. He almost lost his wife, his kids. And all he wanted was me to give him a call. And I should have called him. I should have been a better friend. And that's when I thought, well, this is all this is, you know, you need to consistently check in on your friends, whether they're the happy-go-lucky guy or whether they're the person who's very introverted. You need to check in on them because that's all I wanted. I wanted someone to check in on me. And then on top of that, you need to be able to step up and say that you're having issues. You need to step up and say, I don't feel well. I'm not having a good day. You know, to be very, you know, it's a very old way of thinking for guys to buck up and trying to be tough and pretend that nothing's wrong. So when I came out of that, the first thing I did was I released a suicide awareness hoodie 4 years ago in September. It was right after Robin Williams had died by suicide. And I didn't think anything. It was more of like me kind of putting it out there for myself. And that's kind of what launched it for us. And it was just like, we sold a bunch and we raised, you know, I want to say like $500 in like a week, which at the time was a lot of money to me to give away, you know, because I was very poor, to a suicide awareness foundation. And pretty much every order came with a note. And every order from the person who bought it said, you know, thank you for this. We lost this person. We lost this person. And they were sharing these stories with me, a stranger who they didn't know from anybody. And that's when I really just started thinking, okay, well, this company needs to be a driver, a catalyst for
change,
helping other people and changing, you know, and so we just wrapped up our 4-year and, you know, 4 years in of doing suicide awareness stuff. And we hold seminars here and we, you know, we go to suicide awareness walks. We send out I don't know if I have one on me, but we send out, information in every single shirt that goes out gets a pamphlet on how to even if the person is not interested in seeing that kind of stuff, they just know that it's there in case they need it. Because the one thing I've noticed is when you go through a very depressing, tough time and you're talking suicide, it really makes you aware of your mental health. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that stuff. And I understand. I mean, it's hard for some people. It's, you know, any change is very hard. But there's days where I'm in this office or I'm doing things and I'm not having a good day. I'm just upset for no reason. I'll tell my girlfriend, I'll tell my mother, hey, I'm going home. I'm going to spend the rest of the day kind of taking care of myself, whatever. And I'll come back the next day better. You know, or if something really bad happens, you know, I'm very vocal now. And I also tell people if they're having an issue to contact me. I mean, I've had phone calls from the other side of the country at midnight with somebody having a problem. I have people who reach out to me all the time with advice on what to do, on how to approach somebody. I'm not an expert, but the fact that they're just thinking that way is the difference. You know, raising money is a very good thing, but I'm so proud of what we have been able to accomplish with people being open about this. I mean, I've had people walk in here you would never think in a million years would come in. They just come in looking like they're going to buy something. They do buy something, but then they sit and talk with me for an hour about something they went through. You know what I mean? And just creating that space that clothing's the vehicle, but it's for something else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in a very short, condensed, I know I'm very lengthy,
You're great.
answer. That's kind of that's why we do the suicide awareness stuff. And what I've seen is that there's a lot of people that feel the same way. And there's a lot of people that attach themselves to that because of that.
Yeah. I absolutely love everything you're doing. It mirrors pretty much exactly the stuff that I'm doing and the stuff that I'm about, which is really
Yeah.
funny because I'm
I
listening.
checked out your stuff. Yeah. As soon as um, we started talking last week, I remember I went and I looked and I was like, yeah, I was like, exactly, and I appreciate anybody that is thinking about others before themselves. And I just think
Mhm.
that no matter what you're doing, whether you're selling, um, any type of product, doesn't have to be clothing. If you're, to me, it's like, just imagine if Nike, who I'm pretty sure everybody in the, I'd say half of the world owns a Nike item. Just
Mhm.
imagine if Nike donated $1 every time, or they gave a packet about suicide awareness, and it became a normalized thing that it's like, you know what, it's okay
Mhm.
to talk about this kind of stuff, and everybody wants to
Mhm.
talk about suicide awareness and prevention after a celebrity, a
Right.
musician. And it's like, that's great, but there needs to be a conversation when way before. You need to always,
Right.
and sometimes it's hard. Like if you and I were friends and I saw that you were acting a little bit off, it might suck that I have to sit there and say to you, hey, are you feeling suicidal? It might be super out of left field. It might be a step in the
Mhm.
lineup, but at least I said it. And at least
Yeah.
that I'm able to listen if you needed something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've been very vocal about talking about depression and stuff that I've gone through. And it's interesting what you're saying. I think it's especially hard for men to open up and be vulnerable and talk about that stuff. And I do think, I think it's important. I don't even think that you need to say, are you suicidal? But just like you said, checking in on people and asking how they are.
Mm-hmm.
When people suffer loss, a friend had said, somebody had told me, like, when somebody dies, everybody kind of sends them messages or whatever, you kind of get a bit of attention, and then everyone kind of stops because they don't really want to bring it up and they don't want to upset your feelings. And it's like, I checked back with my friend whose mum died 3 years ago, 4 years ago, just to be like, how are you about that, by the way? Like, how do you feel about that? What's going on? And just to make those conversations normal, because from my experience, people want to talk about it. They want to be able to get something off their chest. And so it's, what I'm learning in general with life is just being more authentic and being more real about what we're thinking and feeling. And every time that I've shared something, very vulnerable, I deal with depression on and off, and I had a really tough time a few months ago, and I just was crying on the floor. And I put it on social media because I never share that. And everybody seems to think that I've got this like perfect glossy life and everything's sunny and rainbowy, but I do struggle. And so that I got such an amazingly warm response from just being honest. And so I think we, like, exactly, your point was fantastic. Like, we need to check in on our friends, and we also need to ask for help. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like everybody
It's
just,
50-50 for sure. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
it's that. And to what you just said, your point too, I really think, it's easier now more than ever everybody knows this, to put on a show that your life is perfect via
Right.
social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really hard because I speak to a lot of high schools, with our school program, and I really try. You can tell when I walk in, these kids are going to think that I'm going to tell them about how great my life is. And before I leave, you could just see their moods completely change, because they realize that you can be happy after experiencing really,
Mm.
really tough things, really hard loss. And that's part of life. And if you look at my journey, the reason why I hate the word success, but before our business was doing better, and we were doing more than what we're doing now, I wasn't letting myself be a person. I was just trying to portray this image of a football player, business owner, whatever it might be. As soon as I just started coming out and being like, I mess up, I screw up, I failed more than I've succeeded. Sometimes I feel bad. Sometimes, like you just said, like, there's days where I'm literally just like a lump on my couch, and I'm just like, and
Yeah.
everybody does view me as this very like bubbly, just
Yeah.
crazy kind of outgoing, like kind of meatheady looking guy. But I do also talk about like really tough stuff, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
this is what's happening. And I just think that what is making the difference now are people on social media that aren't afraid to portray that, because then you give kids, especially high school kids, this idea that kind of life exists. Because
Yeah.
that's what I thought. That does not exist. I mean, it does not. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't. You have to understand that everything that you're seeing on social media has been photoshopped, looked
Right.
over, whatever. The women and the men that are really changing the world are people who are like, yes, I have a lot of issues. This is what I'm doing. everything's not perfect. I love people that go on social media, especially girls too, that um, like show like go like this, and like instead of showing their abs, they'll show like a fat roll, or like or like
Yeah.
every time I post a picture, I'll talk about like my crooked fingers or like my deviated septum or whatever. Just because like I don't know, like I don't want anybody to ever feel intimidated to follow us because of me, or intimidated to like us because they think that like our stuff is for a certain type of person. Like we make extra small to like 4 and 5X clothing. Like we don't, and if somebody has an issue, I always make sure that it gets fixed, and that I will hand deliver stuff. I will refund stuff. I will give free shirts away, because I don't ever want anybody to feel left out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I just think like, especially what you're doing, it's so good to hear you say that. Cause I just, it's tough. I see a lot of people falling into that trap where I know the life they live, but then I also know, I see what they put on social media, and it's like, you're setting yourself up for lots and lots of emotional failure,
Yeah.
because one day that you're not going to be able to keep up this facade. So in the meantime, I just show everybody everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they choose to like the good stuff or the bad stuff or the messed up stuff or whatever. Like it's their choice, and you know what I mean. Like that's just how I think you need to present yourself in your business now. Like nobody wants to see a perfect business, especially a perfect business, and nobody wants to see a perfect person. Like that just has to get out of people's minds of thinking that like that's what they need to do.
Yeah,
But
and that
that's what
that
I
it
thought.
even exists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle,
Yep.
you're like a male me. I'm like, wait, who's talking right now? Is it me or you? Because it's the
I'm like
same thing.
I'm like a lone butler, pot two.
And look at bad Kyle Poissonnier.
Wow.
I love what you said about so just your point about the struggling. For me, I think the thing that really helps when I am going through lows is always being of service. And as soon as I whenever I'm going through something, turn my attention back on how can I help other people, it immediately kind of puts whatever is going on with me into perspective. Because normally it's just incessantly thinking and worrying about something that is causing me to feel low. And then when I can put my attention back on somebody else, that really helps. And so I think that, like you were saying about companies, conscious companies, ethical companies that donate and that help and that use their size or whatever to help people, like, yes, man. And it's such a simple thing as well. It's just such a
Yep.
simple thing, and it's so rewarding. So it's like, how do we shift the consciousness from business to be less self-serving? Because I mean, that's the problem in like corporate America. It's all about me and greed, and not distributing it to people, and sort of destroying the planet in order to get whatever. Like, how do we shift that on a global scale, do you reckon?
I mean,
That's right.
I think we're seeing a big change right now, and for all the negatives of social media, there's so much positive, because it's like for music, for instance, you don't need to be signed anymore. You can literally have a following via social media and YouTube. Same with clothing. I mean, 10 years ago, the only way that I would succeed is if I got placed into boutiques, stores, national chain. I've been in a few I've been in some Whole Foods. We had an offer earlier this year to go into a national chain of like 200 stores, and I said no.
Why?
To me, it's really funny. It was literally this simple. I put it on my Facebook. I said, people who follow me, what do you guys think of this? And half said, you should do it. And half said, I don't know, I think you would lose something. So then
Did you not like the chain? Is that why?
I didn't mind the chain. It just was, I think it would take away from everything we do. I mean, people who follow us on social media, I'm on my phone all day, just involving them in every step. It's like, I'm going to print. I have this color. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Okay, we'll scrap
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, I involve people. And I think if you walk into a store and you see, we have these shirts that say strength on them, and they have different states. So, you know, we do some, we tell people, you know, if you live in Ohio, strength Ohio, and you can give it to somebody who, you know, exhibits true strength or something you may have gone through, et cetera. So if our shirts were sitting in Ohio and somebody walked in and they saw them on a rack, would they know our story? Would they know why that's important? Would they, beyond just thinking it's a cool shirt? So the story is important to me. Like
Gotcha.
you know, and it's very, so there was feedback from people of telling us that, and there was people of me, and there was just me really thinking, you know what, retail is dying. we can control what we do, how we put it out there, and we can just stay the course and stay where we are now, because 65% of our business comes from people who come to us from social media. So why would I change? So that's number one. To back into the other question, it's one of those things where how it can change is 10 years ago, it's like you have your brands, you see them in malls, boutiques, shopping centers, whatever. Now it's like the whole world is on social media. So whoever your market is, you can try to attack those people, or you can let them organically come to you. So when I first started this, nobody, to be honest, it was very hard. I mean, there was just something, I don't know if I want a hoodie about suicide awareness. I don't know if, I want a shirt that says this or that, you know what I mean? Like, but over time, it's just organically, just every day, just more people and more people and more people. And it started in Maine, which is a very tight knit community state as it is. It's very small, but tight knit. Everybody knows everybody. To now you have people from, like, we just sold to, I think 30 or something extra states in the last 2 months as far as the different. So it's like, it's one of those things where it takes time. Like, back to our original point, you can control everything. So with that being said, when we started, we weren't donating a lot of money because we give 10% of our profit, which some people think is, especially like people in the business world, think is way too much. People are like, you should give $1 a sale. It's like, well, you mean we'd have to sell like millions of things
to make a difference.
So we do 10% every month for a year. And it's one of those things where I knew that in time, as we grew, it would be more and more. Just think if Nike gave 10% of their profits every month, you know what I mean? My thinking was always, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we can give 10%. We should give 10%. It's like every company, if you're in corporate America and you're doing a great job and you're surviving and you've been around for a while, you can part with 10% or even 20, or, you know what I mean? So So I think how it's going to change is, I just think people are becoming more aware of the bigger corporations. They're becoming more aware of how things are made. They're becoming more aware of, they want to attach themselves to an idea. Everything that you see that is being sold to you, there's an emotional connection to it. Sometimes not. I mean, like this hand sanitizer, I don't really care about this, but it's one of those things where, like the shirts, the stuff I buy, the brands that I choose to follow, I love their social media. I love the people behind it. They all introduce themselves as people, not just some faceless brand. And I support them accordingly. So I think because people are changing, I think eventually you'll see people just not buying, I might buy Project X over Nike. Like, I love I Am Project X on Instagram. Like, they're from Hawaii. They're a family of people that make these awesome, fun Hawaii themed like fitness clothing. And it's awesome. And I would rather buy that over a bigger brand. Not saying I don't own anything that's Nike, but I'm just saying it's shifting how people shop. Before you were at the mercy of what you saw in a store. You can find whatever you want now. If you want to find that shirt that you're wearing, you can go to your website and get it because somebody is connected to you personally and they want to support you, and they also connect with it on a different level. You know what I mean?
I think that it takes collectively, it's using our money to make the choices. I think that I would like to say that one day just corporations decide to do the right thing, or we used to say what's right or wrong, or to do the loving, generous thing rather than the self-serving, greedy thing. But I don't know that that's going to happen overnight. But we have a choice with every time we purchase anything. Do we want to give our money to that? Do we believe in that? Do we believe in the way that you treat your staff and employees and where all the money's going from this? Or do we want to go for somebody that does this? And so, I just think it's empowering. It's a mix of things, but definitely empowering people to make choices. I'm going to read some of the comments here because we've had some from people that have come in. Mo, who's always on the call, said happy Thanksgiving to us and our families, which is nice. See, just the little things in life can be huge life changes, from Sherry. Yes, they can. We all need to vent to someone too. Oh, that was in relation to our chat about depression. Ben says, strength in numbers, my man. As a friend, I get big, goofy proud about seeing your product out in public, especially knowing what it represents. I love the similarities here, and it's super humbling to hear Ione speak every week on spiritual uplifting and helping others, just as I see you do every day. Proud of you, bro. Aw, you're a sweetheart. Sherry says, Kyle, you're not alone, and keep helping where it's actually needed. There are a lot of people who take caring kindness for weakness. We're all We as passionate people have to learn to weave out those who don't want the help. Good point. Bastien says, oh wait, that could be French and I've butchered it again. Nice to see you two. Helping others is bliss. Couldn't agree more. But yeah, and then yeah, that's it.
I would say to that one comment where she said being compassionate is taken for, I mean, my friend and I always talk, it can be, but you know what, being that type of person, you are going to get hurt. People will let you down. But to me, I would much rather know, and people should feel this way, I would much rather know that you at least attempted to try to help somebody when they had nothing or they needed it, as opposed to not being that caring, open person. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's just, I just think that's a better way to approach life, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I also think that you can be kind and loving and compassionate and caring, but I don't put up with shit. I don't let people walk all over me, or like, you know, I know when, if somebody is taking advantage, or if somebody is not interested, or if somebody is, you know, pushing me away, then I will leave them to it. So I think that, yeah, you don't, that idea that just being kind and caring is weak. I don't think that's not something that I believe in at all, because I still think that you can be whatever. Some people might think that about other people, but I definitely don't live that or embody that.
I take pride in the fact too that I know this sounds really weird, but I take pride in the fact that when I go to speak to people, because I speak probably 10 to 15
sounds great. Awesome.
I think it's hilarious to me that it's always like the guys will come up to me, or the ex-football players, and they're like, hey, how's it going? Like, they think that I'm just going to talk about whatever. I don't know what they think I'm talking about. But
girls and beer and football.
Yeah. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's really cool. And I think it's what people should continue to do, is to keep breaking stereotypes of what people expect you to talk about. You know what I mean? We just put up a shirt today that is benefiting World AIDS Day for any Peabody Center here in Maine. It says Brave on it, and the state of Maine is in red. And we're giving 100% of the profit back to HIV and AIDS research and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, if you asked me 5 years ago if I ever thought I'd be doing a clothing company that put on projects like that, it's like, no. It's like, yeah, you might not expect us to do that kind of thing, but like, that's the whole point, is if you have a good idea and we want to help you with it, we will do it. And it's good to get up there and me as a man sit there and go, yes, I might look like a lumberjack from Maine, whatever the case. But it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I had a really tough time yesterday, or I was really down the week before, or I went through this, and this. I mean, I just think that once you begin to become self-aware, you get better at knowing yourself. And me personally, it's helped me navigate my life and put things in perspective of what's truly important. I don't get upset about a lot of trivial things anymore. My whole saying is, if the person is not going to be at my funeral, I don't care about their opinion. So it might sound morbid and weird, but if someone says something, or if there's a negative opinion, or if there's whatever, I used to harp on it, and I used to be really upset.
Me too.
Now it's like, if there's not going to be someone who's going to be at my wedding, be there at a family reunion, or it's like, it's just hot air. It's negative hot air that unfortunately is a way of life now, because everybody has, it seems, something to say, and it's so easy to say, whether it's tweeting or Facebook or Instagram. People can just write whatever, and they don't ever actually think that there's somebody on the other side who like lives and breathes that. You know what I mean? So
I take it even one step further, that it's not even anyone that's at my funeral. I don't think mine is, it's none of my business what other people think of me. And I think sometimes it's taken the wrong way. People take that for me to meaning that I don't care about anybody. I don't care about affecting people. That's not true. Like, I act with integrity. I don't intend to cause harm to anybody, but I can't please everybody. And it's just accepting that even if I do the most lovely, generous, kind, compassionate thing that's purely from my heart, someone will hate it and have a problem with it and call me awful for it. I can't do anything about that. So yeah, I think it's just important that we stop trying to people please and act with integrity, come from a place where we know where that's coming from. And as long as I'm okay with what I've done, then that's fine.
I just think that you need to be a human too, and go out and fail and get your heart broke and deal with loss and tragedy, because that's when you are aware of what truly matters and what things you used to harp on and not. And it's just like, it's so funny because I spend like 90% of my time like here because people are like, you need to rest, you need to work less, you need to that. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I've worked this long to get to this point and I love it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, nothing, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I just am in here and I'm just happy with what we're building, what we'll continue to build. So it's kind of like, I don't ever hear anything. And I also take pride in not saying anything about anybody. Like I have opinions, but they stay right here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
Good for you.
and I just, because I don't know what that person's done, there might be something that I
Yes.
completely disagree with, that I completely don't like,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't put it on Facebook. I don't put it on Yelp. I don't put it on social media because it's like I don't know them. I don't know their story.
Mm-hmm.
I just think
Even if you've had a bad experience with somebody, you would never share a bad experience.
no, I keep it to myself. There's times in the past couple years, I started doing this. If there's something that gets brought up in conversation, I just change the topic. I don't want to be the person who wouldn't say it to that person's face.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So it's just one of those things where even if you look at my personal social media, I never dip into my opinion on this, my opinion on that. I think arguing on social media is a waste of time. I just maintain what I'm doing. And if someone wants to have a personal conversation with me about something, they can come in here or they can find me. But I just don't think the world needs my opinion if it's negative. I don't think anybody needs, bearing a few awful, if something awful happens and you have an opinion about something really terrible that's unanimously talked about as being terrible. Yes. Whether it be in the world or news or something like that. But just your opinion on if you think something sucks or if you don't like
oh yeah, no,
something.
100%
Like,
agree.
I just
What does that
don't,
serve? Yeah.
I just think it's just such a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I feel worse
Spreading
I have a lot of
negativity.
friends. I have friends that own restaurants locally and just people. And I feel so bad for them because it's like, they'll put time and years into building a place and one person can go in and not like how something tastes and they can give them a bad Yelp review and say it's terrible and this and that. And they completely crush like everything that they've worked for, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where I understand that not everybody's going to like your business, my business, whatever we do. I understand that. But I just pride myself on just not sharing my negative opinion. I just don't think it's good for anybody. I don't think it helps the world as an energy. You know what I mean? Like I just feel, I believe in energy. Like I believe in like, I'm not like real religious or into that type of stuff, but I just believe that like, if it's not positive, you don't need to say anything. You can just keep your opinions in your pocket.
Interesting.
Talk to yourself.
I agree in some respect, but then I also feel like it's how you talk about things. I feel like it's important. If somebody's done something awful or provided terrible service or I had a terrible experience with something, I would want to know that there's something bad. So I feel very strongly about sharing negative experiences, but it's the way in which you share the negative experiences rather than coming from and like, even if I've got any problem with anything, I complain. Not a lot, but I do complain if something hasn't been done in a way that it should be, but not in a douchey, angry, aggressive, and I sometimes I catch myself on the phone getting angry with people and I'm like, I'm sorry, I know this isn't your fault, I don't mean to get angry, it's just frustrating that this is what's happening. So I think it's very admirable the way that you can be like that, and I think that's totally valid.
I totally agree. But how you're describing what you say is usually not the way people go about it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's just like and I'm mildly prepping myself for that now, just because as we grow and things like that, I know that with more people who see your brand, there's going to be more and more opinions. So I'm just mildly prepping myself now for.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
it really breaks my heart. There's so many angry, nasty, like hateful comments. I posted one thing that was, it was a meme that was, I pledge allegiance to humankind, and it was a flag of the earth. And somebody like went off on one, like just really aggressive, like swearing and like that's in reaction to something about unity. Yeah. Like what is going on with you that a post about unity gets you that mad? And so for me, it's like, well, we have a community moderator now. And so any comments that are like aggressive and nasty and like vengeful and horrible, they just get removed and banned from the page. So I'm like, you don't belong here. But it kind of makes me sad, because it's like, damn, there's so many people suffering. What can you do?
I think it's that's another way to look at it too, is you have to think, I often think like, I've never I've never left a comment like that on social media. So I just think like, what is that person going through where they're scrolling
Exactly.
and they're like, oh, and they just start writing that. So like, I just have never, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I've never left a comment on anything. I've just been like because to me, it's just like, I think it's just a really nice, it's a real true reflection of what that person's going through.
They're suffering. Exactly. And so I have compassion for it. Yeah. I agree. Somebody just said, Sherry just said, my mom told me a long time ago, you can't save the world. I know, I'm good. My mom's here visiting. She's like, we need to go. She says, you can't save the world, so stop trying. But some people only need to hear, how's your day? Sherry, I totally agree. In response to that, like a couple of years ago, I was watching a lot of documentaries about all these things that were going wrong in the world, and it just broke my heart. And I was on the phone to a friend, and I was like, how do I help? There's so many things that need help with, like, how do I fix everything? And he said to me, Ione, be the change you want to see in the world. And that just for me, and I love that, just saying to somebody, how's your day? Rather than trying fixing every problem that's going on in the world, just do whatever you can do. Like, that's it. If we all just smiled at everybody, did something sweet for somebody, an act of kindness, volunteered, donated, everything would change overnight. And so that's all you can control, you. And so, yeah, I think that's to bring it full circle. I mean, that's what our name is for a reason. We do what we can do. I understand that to a giant corporation, donating $10,000 for a year is not a big thing, and this and that. But I've done great.
I've sat in here, during a suicide awareness seminar about 2 months ago, and I've sat in here with my mother sitting next to me, and there was two people in here who had lost loved ones to suicide, and it was heavy in some spots, and they were doing some we're doing some tutorials and what to do and all this kind of stuff, and it just hit me, and I had to take a moment because I was just like, these people are here trying to learn, trying to mentally recover, trying to whatever, and they're here because I just put clothing out into the world that I want to have a message on it, and it doesn't matter to me if it's ever bigger than what it is now. It doesn't matter to me. It just matters to me that people find something within what we're doing that is positive, that can help them. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I just think like what you just said, like, it's just do what you can do every day, pick one thing, work on something, just try to take one day at a time. I say that all the time. My girlfriend will always be like, one thing at a time, because she'll see me getting worked up. And, I think if you have that mindset day to day, and you pay attention to people too, I mean, don't wait for your turn to talk, listen to what they're saying and ask them how they're doing. I always say it's not about you. This life is not about you. It's about everybody else. And that's the way, if you approach that, I just think that you'll have a more enjoyable experience throughout life,
Kyle, this has been so wonderful. Thank you. I feel such synergy. The male me, the white male me. I love it.
We gotta get you some catalyst out there. Where are you, by the way? You in LA? You in LA?
That's right. Yeah, from England.
Okay, so I have a couple friends who live out there.
Awesome.
Okay, so we'll send you some. We'll send you some England stuff, and we'll send you some LA stuff if you feel like you want to rock some stuff.
You rock star. Yes, I would love that.
We'll send you some stuff. Send me something with the sleeves cut off. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'll send you. So everyone, I'll put the links to Kyle's store and our store, and then I'll speak to you afterward, Kyle. But just thank you, everyone that's watching and watched. Thank you very much. Check out Catalyst for Change and their awesome stuff. And I will see you on a call very soon. Bye.
See you guys.